Good morning, Southern California, AM 1220 KHTS. Host Fred Arnold on the Santa Clarita Valley Chamber of Commerce Business Spotlight. Want to talk to you on this segment about something that I think is really important. I want to do a little commentary, if you will, and that is on credit and how important credit is and what you need to know about credit when it comes to your life and everything that revolves around buying a car, buying a house, you name it. This world seems to be around your credit score, and your credit score is calculated for a mortgage credit. It's between 300 and 850. So your score is going to be between 300, the lowest. I guess if you write your name on the piece of paper when you're younger, that's your score, right? 300. The highest is 850. It predicts the likelihood of you becoming 90 days late on a payment in the next 24 months. The lower the score, the greater the likelihood, the higher the score, the less likely you are to be late. And it's about the odds of default. That's what the creditors use it for. Now, if you don't have a copy of your credit, you can always go and get a free copy every year. And it's the website is annualcreditreport.com, annualcreditreport.com. You can get a free copy. There's three bureaus. There's Experian, there's TransUnion, and there's Equifax. And there shouldn't be any cost to that if you log on and get one copy a year to see how your credit looks and see how creditors are reporting different lines of credit. Now, let's talk about how your credit score is calculated. What is it made up of? It's made up of your payment history. So 35% of your score is payment history. Your balances, what are your balances? 30%. Credit history, 15%. Type of credit, 10%. And inquiries, 10%. Let's talk about payment history. Payment history is, do you pay on time? Are you paying your bills when they're due? Now, many creditors won't report you late until you've been 30 days late. So you could pay a late fee and be 29 days late, but as long as you're not 30 days late, most creditors won't count that against you on your credit report. Now, they're going to charge you a late fee, of course, but you want to make sure you're not 30 days or later. So they count 30 days late. The more derogatory, the negative, the more negative effect on your credit. Weight is given on serious delinquencies, and what those would be charge-offs, repossessions, foreclosures, or bankruptcies. Those are really big. In some cases, tax liens, versus just one simple 30-day late. Now, I'm going to tell you something. The biggest tip I can give you: do an automatic deduction of at least the minimum payment on every credit card if you've ever been late. And the reason why you want to do that, because the minimum payments are like $50, $75. And if you miss that payment, you end up paying $50 to $75 in late fees anyways. But make it that minimum payment no matter what. Even if you pay your bills in full every month, make sure there's automatically, if you miss that payment, the minimum amount gets paid automatically through your bank or your financial institution. And then make sure, of course, your checking account or your savings account, wherever you do that, auto deduct has a what do you call it? I think a backup, a line of credit to it, just in case that goes negative. You don't want to bounce that, or you don't want that to get returned. If you're 30 days late 2 years ago, it's not going to have as big of an effect as if you're 30 days late last month. So the more recent the late payment, then the more severe the item on your credit. That's 35% of your credit score. 30% of your credit score is your balances, and this is what they're looking for, plain and simple. If you have a $10,000 limit on a credit card, do you owe $9,000 or do you owe $5,000 or do you owe $1,000? They look at those percentages. So if you owe $9,000 on a $10,000 credit card, you're loaned up 90% of the limit. They don't like that. They'd rather you owe 50% of your limit or $5,000 or less. Where that becomes a particular problem is if you only have a credit card that's got a $1,000 limit and you owe $800, you're thinking, well, that's not a big deal. It's only $800. I could pay it, no problem. It looks like you're charged up to 80% of your limit. So you want to look at what is your limit? What is your balance compared to your limit? That's why people advise don't close credit cards, because then it lowers your available limit, unless you abuse credit, of course. Then you want to make sure you protect yourself at all costs. But the bottom line is you want to have good available credit that you're not tapping into every month, so they can see that you're disciplined. You're not maxed out on your balances. That's 30%. So simply by paying some of your debt off, your credit score can go up rather rapidly by paying certain debts down. Credit history, and that is how long have you had accounts open. If you had an account open for a long time, it's good, it's positive as long as it's paid on time, versus brand new accounts. So if you go out and open up a brand new account, it's going to negatively affect your credit on the short term because it's a brand new debt. So definitely want to keep those credit cards open longer. And if you're going to open up a new card because it gives you mileage plus, just don't open too many new cards at one time, because the longevity, the longer you've had the credit, the better. Let's talk about credit type. Is it there's different types of credit. There's credit that you would normally get from a bank or credit union, and those aren't scored as negatively as if it's with a finance company. Now, finance companies could be going to your local department store. They could be using finance companies. Going to your local electronics store. They could be using finance companies. Or some of these where sign on the dotted line, I'll give you $5,000. Those are a lot of finance companies. The credit bureaus like you to get credit from traditional sources and not those high-risk sources, which are finance companies. It's usually a little more negative when you just use finance companies. It goes back again to those they sampled 1.5 million borrowers, and which borrowers are most likely going to be late, and they found a lot of them were individuals with finance companies and high-risk lenders. And last but not least, how many times has somebody pulled your credit? Every time a creditor pulls your credit, it negatively affects your credit score. Of course, if you're shopping for a car, and if it's within a small time frame then it doesn't hurt you as much because it's a small time frame. The credit bureaus understand you're shopping for a car, shopping for a house. But if you apply for a department store credit card this week, 3 weeks later you apply for a car. A month later, you apply for some great deal, 10% off at your electronics store. If you're continuously inquiring on your credit, or creditors are inquiring on your credit, it's going to negatively affect your credit score. So those are things you need to look at when it comes to evaluating your credit score. Make sure you make your payments on time. Keep those balances a little bit lower. Try to use the more traditional sources. Don't have someone pull your credit all the time, and certainly you can be on your path of success when it comes to your credit score. Well, I hope you enjoyed this quick, brief description of credit. You feel free to reach out to me anytime, 661-505-4300. This is Fred Arnold on the VIA Hour, AM 1220 KHTS.